welcome back and welcome to another movie reviews video. I make movie reviews here on this channel every Sunday. They are always spoiler free, and I will leave timestamps in the description box below in case there is a particular movie you want to hear my thoughts on. I will also leave last week's movie reviews video linked up above in case I talked about something last week that you are considering seeing in the cinemas this week. Just as an aside, I believe that it is definitely Christmas mug season now, but is it also Christmas other decorations season? Like, you know, let me know in comments if you have other decorations out other than just your Christmas mug collection. I'd be intrigued to hear. This week I saw 4 movies in cinemas, 3 of them new releases and 1 older release that is part of my IMDb top 100 as of January 2019 watch. The first movie I saw in cinemas this week was Ford versus Ferrari, which is called Le Mans 66 everywhere else in the world. So if you are watching this in another country, it is not called Ford versus Ferrari, it is Le Mans 66. And I have to tell you that this, I think I came out of it and said, that is the best movie I have seen in a long time. And you know, I've enjoyed a lot of movies recently, but this movie just kept me gripped to the screen. It kind of made me think, it made me laugh, it made me cry, it educated me, and I just left feeling that buzz of when you've had a really good movie going experience. You know, you feel like you've really taken something from the movie. And the film itself is, I think, 2 hours 35 minutes, so it's not a short film. And you know, I'm not the biggest fan of a really long movie, but at no point did I feel like it was dragging. At no point did I feel like, oh, we could have cut that out and saved an extra, 15 minutes here and cut that out and saved an extra 10 minutes here. I really didn't feel like it felt like a long movie. It's Christian Bale, Matt Damon, just being the great actors that they are on screen. I just absolutely found them magical to watch. It was really, really good to see their chemistry. I felt like they really kind of lived the parts. It was one of those where you're like, oh, I'm not watching Christian Bale, I'm watching this character. I'm not watching Matt Damon, I'm watching this character. And the film itself just had so much kind of action combined with heart. Obviously, it's about motorsport, it's about cars and building cars and racing, and some of that is dangerous and some of that is very mechanical, and there's a lot of technical terms used, but I'm not somebody who is a fan of motorsport, and I really enjoyed it. And I went with somebody who is a fan of motorsport and they also really enjoyed it. So I think this film kind of really does get every single market. And I mean, the trailers show you exactly what's going to happen in the film, and it's based on a true story, so you might know a lot of what happens, but still there was one point where I realized I was holding my breath, and that scene concluded and I let my breath out and I was like, oh, I was holding my breath. This was really good. But it just had that really good feeling about it, when you come out and you're kind of buzzing. And like a big kind of like recognition for Noah Jupe, who was in Wonder and Quiet Place. Was fantastic in A Quiet Place, and he is in the film Honey Boy as well, which I really, really want to see. But he plays Christian Bale's son in this one. Interestingly, he played Matt Damon's son in Suburbicon, I think, which I haven't seen. I saw Downsizing but not Suburbicon, and I got those 2 films mixed up in my head. Anyway, he was just absolutely fantastic in this film as well, and I can't wait to see him in a kind of starring role in Honey Boy. I know that's not about Ford versus Ferrari. Well, it kind of is, because he was amazing in the film, but just as an aside, Noah Jupe, oh, just stunning on screen, just fabulous to watch act. I wish that I could have been so talented when I was as young as he is. Then the second film I saw in cinemas this week was Frozen 2. I feel like this one kind of clings more to its Nordic roots than the original film does. It feels a lot more like we're in a folk tale, that we're in something that's been created in the world of Hans Christian Andersen, whereas I feel like Frozen, the original, was very much like, okay, we're going to take this Hans Christian Andersen, but we're going to throw Disney princesses at it. And I'm a big fan of Frozen, but this one feels a lot more like something you would expect to find just on the pages of the book, which isn't a bad thing. I really enjoyed the fact that it was more down to its kind of Nordic roots, and we had gods of earth, wind, fire and water in there, and we had kind of different clans of people, and this film, you can see from the trailers and the movie posters, it's got a more autumnal theme to it than a Christmassy theme. So I can see why they decided to release it at Thanksgiving rather than waiting until the Christmas season, because we've got all these wonderful kind of fall colours in there, as well as all the blowing leaves. We've got some beautiful pinks and purples in there. I really like Kristoff and Sven's storyline in this one. I feel like they've got a bit more of a substantial kind of adult, not adult, but like grown up, let's say, storyline compared to the one that they had in the original film. Obviously Anna and Elsa have their, like, you know, girl power, we can accomplish anything type storyline, which you know from the trailers. But yeah, I think that, yeah, Kristoff and Sven's storyline for me kind of stood out as being something to note. There are definitely some scary moments in this one, so if you are taking very young children to go and see this one, you know, be prepared for that, you know, they might want some reassuring at some points. I don't think that there are enough scary moments in there for me to say, oh, don't take young kids to go and see this, but there are definitely some scary elements, some kind of, like, you know, fighty, mild peril, as the ratings thing says, scenes in this one, but I still thought that it was very, very good. I know she's an animated character, but I just really liked Elsa's fashion in this one. I feel like I could, you know, channel some of that fashion. I really liked what she was doing with her outfit choices. So they've animated a good wardrobe in this film. Thought that her fashion kind of stood out aside from Anna's fashion, and obviously Olaf just gives us some real comedy moments. The whole theatre was laughing. I was in a full theatre, lots and lots of kids in the theatre, and we were all laughing, which is always a nice thing. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. So if that tells you anything, obviously no spoilers whatsoever. And I saw this in Dolby format. I know opening week it always comes out in different formats, so I also saw Ford versus Ferrari in Dolby format, but my theatre isn't showing it in Dolby anymore because it's all Frozen in the Dolby and IMAX theatres right now. So I saw it in Dolby format. I would consider going to see it again in IMAX just to see the difference. I don't think that the Dolby format was necessarily an enhancement on this one, whereas Ford versus Ferrari, it definitely was. I feel like the trailers beforehand were a lot kind of louder and more impactful than the actual film itself. I don't know if they turned it down because they knew they had a lot of kids in there. That might be something. But yeah, so if you're considering going to see it in Dolby versus going to see it over going to see it in just a regular screen, I don't think it did anything for it, so I'd recommend saving your money and doing it on a different film. And then the third new release I saw in cinemas this week was A Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood, which stars Tom Hanks as Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. I thought that this would be a bit of a fictional Hollywood style retelling of the documentary that came out this time last year called Won't You Be My Neighbour, which showed us through Fred Rogers' life and the history of the TV show and who he was as a person. And a lot of the trailers for A Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood look almost exactly the same as the trailers for Won't You Be My Neighbour. So I thought it would just be the Hollywood version of that, starring Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. But they went a whole different way with that. And so this is where I could see this film getting nominated for something like original screenplay, editing or direction, because I think that the way they put the film together and the way they kind of wove the storyline together was really, really clever and really, really appealing. And even if, like me, you were only introduced to Fred Rogers in the documentary last year and didn't grow up with him, I think that there's enough storyline and other things going on to give you a good example of who that person was and the impact that he had on the TV viewing audience, and also B, to give you enough to keep you entertained for the course of the film, because there is a whole other storyline going on with Lloyd, the person, the journalist who goes to interview Mr. Rogers and meets him, and we see the impact that Mr. Rogers has on Lloyd. But the way they weave it together, obviously I'm not going to give you any spoilers, is just so clever and so just, it wraps you up in this world and you are in this world. And it's another one that I would definitely consider going to see again. So all three new releases that I watched this week, I feel like they would all be worth a rewatch. They would all be worth me giving my time again. And I think it would depend on what I felt that I needed as to which one of the three I would go and watch again, because Ford versus Ferrari gave me that kind of like adrenaline, this is amazing, pumped up feeling. Frozen gave me this, oh, this is magical, the colours are beautiful, it's very soothing, it's very comforting feeling. And then A Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood gives you that comfort feeling, but in a different way. And I did cry at that one. So I cried a little bit in Ford versus Ferrari, or Le Mans 66. I almost cried in Frozen, but didn't quite. And then I definitely cried in A Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood, and there was a lot of sniffing going on in the cinema around me. So in terms of crying rating, that's how the three new releases compare. The one older release that I saw in cinemas this week, so right before seeing Ford versus Ferrari, did a double header on Sunday and then a double header on Friday. So that's the way my cinema viewing went this week. Was doing some double features because I didn't have time to fit them in other places. So this one was from the IMDb Top 100 as of January 29 list that we are working our way through. We only have 20 films left now to see by the end of the year, which is exciting. Don't have anything else coming up in the cinemas, but we have them on downloads and DVDs and what have you. We went to see Princess Mononoke, which is another Studio Ghibli film like Spirited Away, and this one was showing in the cinemas, which is why we haven't seen it until now. We ended up going to see a dubbed version of it rather than a subtitled version, just because we picked to go on the Sunday. It was showing Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday and Wednesday were the dubbed version and Monday was the subtitled version. Didn't specifically pick to go and see the dubbed version, but it was interesting, having seen Spirited Away in the subtitled version, to see this in the dubbed version, to see how it differs in terms of just that aspect. There were a lot of big names providing the voices in this one. We've got Minnie Driver, we've got Billy Crystal, and you know, when you're kind of listening for who the voice is, you're like, that sounds familiar, but I'm not sure who it is. This one was interesting, but in terms of my kind of anime watching, I hadn't really seen any of these films before, and I've seen a few of them thanks to this list, and I would say that this one was probably bottom of the ones out of the list for me. It just was more about kind of battles and gods than it was about an actual story arc. And I understand that a lot of people prefer that kind of a film, whereas for me, I feel like I need that kind of like beginning, here are the characters, let's put them in some peril, let's maybe have some romance, and then let's have, you know, a happy ending or whatever. And, you know, I'm not saying anything about the ending of this film, obviously, but yeah, it was on the longer side and felt like it dragged, whereas I then went to see Ford versus Ferrari straight after, which was longer and didn't feel like it dragged at all. And yeah, I think it just wasn't for me. Obviously the animation style, I do really enjoy that animation style, but I think there was just too much, oh, something's gone wrong here, let's battle. Oh, something else needs fixing, let's battle. Oh, this person's going to get hurt, this person's going to get killed, this person's going to get hurt. It was just, I felt like it was a lot of just repeating of that, which I personally don't enjoy in my movie watching, and so I think that that's probably why it wasn't for me. So this one has been a bit of a longer video because I've enthused an awful lot about the films that I have seen this week, which is a good thing. So yeah, I recommend seeing any of these on the big screen, that's for sure. As always, do let me know in the comments if there is a particular movie you would like me to go and watch, and then bring my thoughts back to you here next week. I will have a movie reviews video for you next week. It may be very short, but I will have one for you. Let's see. Yes, I will. And so make sure you are subscribed so that lands in your subscription feed. I have some bookish and Disney content, the last of my Disney vlogs, coming up for you in the week. And then as of next Sunday, obviously we are into Vlogmas, so you don't want to miss any of that. If you have made it this far and or enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you on Tuesday with another bookish video. Bye.